Good morning and welcome to my writing life. Today we're going to talk about voice, so let's get to it. I talk all the time on this channel about developing a strong sense of self for the sake of your mental health. And while that's true for everyone, it's extra true for writers because we need to have an authorial voice or to be able to develop character voice. So today I'm going to give you a few tips on how to do that. Number 1, singing hearts and boiling blood. It's easy to think of the top things that piss you off, and while I don't recommend that you spend too much time there, it is important to understand what those things are because those are the issues that are going to bleed into your text and become what you are passionate about writing about. So take some intentional time to think about the changes that you wish to see in the world and the root of those problems. Also, know what makes you come alive. If you are, I don't know, for example, really into sewing, and your protagonist needs a day job that isn't strictly essential to the plot, but also needs to happen because characters are boring if they just wait around for adventures doing nothing all day. Well, you could, maybe make your protagonist a seamstress? I don't know. I'm totally not doing that in my work in progress. Number 2, what language do you use when no one's looking? I have a friend who speaks fluent internet. She just does. Being internet averse, I don't always catch the nuance there, understand everything she's saying, or totally appreciate all of it. But I enjoy the heck out of her texts because she sounds so thoroughly her. And for me, I spent years hiding my vocabulary because I didn't want to come off as, well, a windbag, which I probably do now. But you can't win them all, so. In the last few years, I have stopped apologizing for knowing a bunch of words. That's just a byproduct of reading a lot. I have a degree in English, for crying out loud. Of course I read a lot. Vocab is gonna happen. And honestly, I genuinely enjoy using the most effective word that I can possibly think of. Yes. So what? I'm a pompous but I'm a pompous who said exactly what she meant. Use the language that appeals to you. Honestly, it's better to be who you actually are. Getting mocked for that is its own reward. Number 3, get salty. We've all had the experience of reading someone else's work and subsequently wanting to burn our own manuscripts. No, that's just me. Other writers have come before us, and their words can be very inspiring. So if you find something that makes you want to quit, even if it's only for a moment, because please don't actually quit, read those words over and over until they become a part of you and integrate into your own voice. Number 4, authorial voice. This one is easy to grasp when you are reading nonfiction. Everything is Fact, a book about hope by Mark Manson, is not going to sound anything like Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, obviously this is the case because you can tell in the titles that these are very different speakers, even though the content in both texts is remarkably similar. If you want a good example of authorial voice, check out several different nonfiction texts. Number 5, character voice. Humans don't all see the world the same way. The same thing is going to be true of your characters. Perspective is shaped through experience, religion, etc. Let the elements of their backstory lead into the perspective they carry into the way they tell a story. I have 2 examples of character voice for you today. Dusty is the protagonist of my current work in progress. She's a seamstress, has a complicated relationship with authority, and is fairly isolated in her own town. I'm going to read to you the first impression that she has of 2 soldiers who enter her workshop in a threatening manner. I'm Lieutenant Anasteri. Seamstress, we're looking for a man. The soldier who spoke was the shorter of the 2, but somehow more commanding, intense. His uniform was impeccable, but the silhouette was made wider in the shoulders with pads, which told her plenty about him. The second soldier was slightly taller, and a softer face that would probably be handsome if it weren't for the welt raising above his left eye. Harder body, and the arm side of his shirt was cut slightly looser than was necessary, so freedom to work with his hands must be more important than presentation. That perspective tells us much more about Dusty than even the soldiers that she's describing. She reads fabric the way most people can read a Facebook post. That's unique to her character, which makes it unique to her voice. Now, the love interest has different priorities and passions. He's a soldier that's been questioning his commitment to the military. He has a deep love of nature, but deep down he constantly questions where he belongs. Len had probably followed Pitch for a mile when he finally saw a place where the river opened onto a flat stretch of sand. Trees grew along the shore, anchoring 3 small rafts at the water's edge. Tucked behind the sloping bank, a handful of people clustered around a tree stump, where the leader, a tall woman with fluffy hair and round features, spoke from the head of the circle. Everyone else's eyes were fixed on the coordinates she pointed to on a map. Len's language is very different, and he's focused on very different things. He notes things like landscape and plant life. He clocks data in technical language like miles and coordinates. He doesn't describe the head of the rebellion as a woman. The first word that comes to his mind is leader. These are all influences of his personality, interests, and deep feelings. Dusty wouldn't care about how far she's traveled or the nature of the location she's having conversation in. In the same way, Len wouldn't notice that the cut of the leader's garment is in strong vertical lines to promote her authority, while still having her waist cinched in to accentuate her figure. Voice is so fun to play with and explore, and if you practice it, you'll get much better at it and create way more interesting texts. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you next time. Bye!